Hello! It is the Esoteric Podcast extra episode for this week. These seem to be more common nowadays.
Hey, more content, always a good thing.
Yes.
As always, I am t.j.bunker. With me is Wesley. Once again, RJ, our third member of the Esoteric Podcast, was unable to join us. He's really busy during the week and can basically only join us for the Sunday podcasts. For now, anyway. We're looking to get him less busy so he can join us more often. Mm-hmm. Today is Thursday, October the 20th in 2016, yes. The day Nintendo finally revealed the NX as the Nintendo Switch.
There's one thing I have to bring up before I make that terrible joke I was telling you about. Today I was watching a Let's Play on this channel I follow called Brain Scratch Comms, and one of the guys was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be posted in the future. So yeah, the Nintendo NX looks cool. Yeah." And on Twitter, he's just like, "I called it."
Okay. So yeah, the NX, of course, was first announced as being a thing during an investors' call in 2015 between then President Satoru Iwata and their major shareholders in the company. They announced that they were working on a new console codenamed the NX. He did not explicitly say it was to replace the Wii U, but everybody was pretty damn sure it was going to be replacing the Wii U. To date, in 2016, I think the Wii U's only sold like 11 million units. So it's not a whole lot. In fact, here in spring of 2016, there was another investors' call where it was announced that the NX would be launching by March of 2017, which is significant because that is the end of the fiscal year for Nintendo. Because businesses don't count the calendar the same way regular people do. I don't know why, but they get to decide when their fiscal year starts and ends for their bookkeeping purposes, and their fiscal year ends in March. So it would give them a nice little sales boost to round out the year, is what it would do. During that same call, it was announced that 800,000 units would be shipped worldwide for the Wii U. Because somebody had asked, does this mean the Wii U is done? And they were like, nope, we're shipping 800,000 units. Which seems like a really tiny number, because it's worldwide.
Yeah.
And
I already have to buy a Wii U as is. I'm hoping I don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get one.
NX was supposed to be out in March. That is the only thing, other than we will not be talking about it at E3, that has been
Tokyo Game
said.
Show.
We didn't hear anything about it at E3. We didn't hear anything about it at the Tokyo Game Show. The only thing we've actually known for certain from Nintendo is that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild would be launching on NX. We've heard news from other developers. The Pokemon Company has said that they are contemplating putting a Pokemon game on the NX, whether they were talking a mainstream Pokemon game or something more like Pokemon Stadium or...
I hope we get another Pokemon Coliseum-like game, because I loved that series.
Okay. I have no idea what they were talking about. We've heard from some other developers like Activision and Ubisoft going, yep, we've seen the NX and it's fantastic and we have every intention of putting lots and lots of our games on it. And to be fair, every single company said the same thing about the launch of the Wii. And then 2 years later, the only games they were putting on Wii were shovelware. They said the exact same thing about the Wii U. And here we are 2 years, 3 years later, and it's been 4 years since the Wii U. I don't remember. But yeah, hasn't been that long, and they've stopped putting games out at all. They aren't even putting shovelware out on Wii U anymore. So, yeah, I don't know. To be fair, along with their trailer that they dropped to YouTube, there is also a press release that they issued, which lists, what was it, 52, I want to say? Different companies that have all committed to the NX in some way. I mean, they've got companies on there like Unity, the engine manufacturer, meaning they are going to do something with their engine so that it can run on Wii U, or Nintendo's done something so that the Unity engine can run on Wii U, which is good for anybody out there making indie games in Unity. It should be really easy to port them over to the, or not Wii U, not NX, Switch. God, wrong game console.
So, okay, I might as well say the joke now. So, if I punch this, will I get tried like Adrian Peterson did for being a Switch hitter? Oh shit, I did that joke wrong. Damn it.
Wow, that is a really bad joke, Wes. Especially when you apparently implied Adrian Peterson was a baseball player.
Oh gosh, no, wait. The original joke was if Adrian Peterson was a baseball player, he'd be a Switch hitter. So, God, I really fucked up that joke.
Okay, good to know. It's a good thing we can edit this.
Yeah, probably gonna do that. Might keep it in just because, you know.
Whatever. Anyway, so some of the big names are Bethesda. When the Wii originally was announced, and you had all these companies, Activision, Ubisoft, EA coming out and saying, yes, we are bringing all of our top franchises to the Wii. People at E3 that year walked up to Bethesda and were like, so Bethesda, you bringing your franchises to it? And Bethesda went, nope. We looked at the specs of the system, and nothing we do would fit on that system. We are known for a company that needs lots of horsepower, both graphically and CPU-wise, and the Wii U just doesn't have it, so we are not doing any games for the Wii. Bethesda is on the NX, or the Switch, the list. And in fact, Skyrim is featured in the trailer.
Yeah, which, when I saw that, I was like, yep, I'm going to need to find a way to make money to buy this console.
So yeah, it's I don't know. Everything about this hurts my brain. For starters, March. No one, to the best of my knowledge, has ever successfully launched a console in March. Hell, as far as I know, no one's tried to launch a console in March, so, you know, maybe it'll work. But it seems like a really terrible time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's post-holiday, meaning you're not going to get holiday sales bumps. You're not going to get a lot of hype built up, because all the hype is going to be going towards things you can buy for the holidays. PS4 Pro, the Xbox One Slim, or whatever that's called.
One S.
The One S, the PlayStation VR, all the new games coming out. I mean, Pokemon Sun and Moon, another Nintendo property, is going to be taking a bunch of hype away from the Switch, because that's actually coming out this holiday season. Meaning that, essentially, the Switch cannot start building decent hype until January. Which gives Nintendo 2 months to build hype for this console before they drop it. Some unknown date in March.
So unless they have, like, the most awesome of marketing campaigns set out for this console, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just wow.
There was actually one thing when we were talking earlier that I forgot to mention to you. This whole lack of hype building, I've noticed it within the music industry. That usually does provide, well, good album sales, and I think that might be what Nintendo was trying here, but it doesn't work in a gaming industry environment.
Well, I don't know. See, the thing is, they actually have done a sort of similar thing for the Wii. In the spring of 2005, 2006, whatever year it was, they dropped a 30-second trailer to the internet for the Wii. No gameplay. Almost no hardware, other than they revealed the remote at the end. And that was it. That was all. Here's what you know about our new console. 30 seconds of basically nothing. You can still find it on YouTube if anybody wants to go look for it. But see, the difference between then and now is then they went to E3. They showed it off. Mm-hmm. They freaking, told people about it. And then it dropped in the holidays.
Yeah.
And then they sold gangbusters. This is essentially the same thing 6 months later.
Yeah.
Which, rather than being able to build up hype at E3 and ride that train from June all the way into holidays, you drop this. I mean, admittedly, it's a 3-minute trailer instead of a 30-second trailer, but you drop this trailer with hardly any information, issue a brief little press release that also has hardly any information, and then you just leave it that way until January when you finally start to build hype, and then you drop a console in March. Why March? Like, if I was Nintendo, and I suppose I don't know how well this works over the rest of the world, but I would drop it in April. Just because then you've got tax day. You can be like, yeah, look, you just got a bunch of tax refunds. Spend it on a console.
Yeah.
It's a thing a lot of people in the U.S. at least do. They go out and spend, like, your tax return for most people in the U.S. is like bonus money. You don't put it in your budget. You make sure your budget works without it, so you can still pay all your bills and stuff, and then when you get your tax return, bam, that's your fun money. You can spend it on whatever you want. Nintendo,'s anywhere from a couple of weeks to a month and a half early, depending on if they launch at the beginning or end of March, to take advantage of that in the U.S. Maybe in Japan, tax days, in March? I don't know. I also don't know if Japan has a similar thing, but at least in the U.S., why March? I am so confused by the business strategy here.
Yeah, it scares me because after seeing all the footage we saw in that trailer, granted we saw practically nothing, but after what I saw, and this could be my sheeple mentality here, but I was hyped. I mean, I'm hyped for the Switch.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to do something, to be fair, it's Nintendo, so of course it's going to do something bizarre and weird and never been tried before. Before the Wii U, Nintendo's least successful console was the GameCube, which was exactly what Microsoft and Sony put out here a couple years ago with the Xbox One and the PS4, which was just more of the same. We gave it better graphics, and bam, here you go. And that's not really. I mean, it didn't work for Nintendo. The GameCube did not sell well. And let's face it, a lot of Nintendo's properties, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, all those things, they do not rely on high-end, realistic-looking graphics or anything like that. So they don't need that high graphical horsepower. Which is why the Wii and the Wii U did not bother to have all that high graphical horsepower. Because, yeah, it was a thing where you didn't need it for their games. I mean, admittedly, you needed it for other people's games. That's why a lot of other games never got ported to the Wii or the Wii U, or why when they did, they were in substandard quality.
Yeah.
But Nintendo did prove you do not need those graphics to succeed, because the Mario games are fantastic fun. Breath of the Wild is probably the most beautiful game I saw at E3 this year. Yeah,
I was just blown away by how amazing and detailed that game looks.
Yes, and yet it does not do the realistic type graphics. I mean, you look at it and you don't go, oh my god, it's like real life. You look at it and go, oh my god, it's like a work of art come to life. And to be fair, I'd rather have that second one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The one thing that's major hitting me for the Nintendo Switch is, like, yes, I'm excited for everything that's going to happen with it. And, I'm still going to probably support Nintendo because I love them as a developer. But honestly, this is one thing I feel I have to yell about right now. we need another Metroid game that isn't Federation Force. Because we haven't gotten a real mainstay Metroid game till Prime 3, I want to say. That
We're not going to count Other M?
we're not going to count. Other M is the black sheep, red-headed stepchild of Metroid.
Okay. Just checking.
No, Other M does not count for anything within Metroid. It's just that one cancerous tumor that we ignore.
Yeah, I admit, Nintendo has left a few properties to languish that I hope they manage to bring back. Another F-Zero game would be epic.
When was the last F-Zero game, actually?
F-Zero 64, I want to say.
No, wait, wasn't there one for the GameCube?
There might have been.
Yeah, F-Zero GX.
Okay. I didn't play any F-Zero games in the GameCube. Now, admittedly, I am a long-time Nintendo fanboy. In case anybody wants to question that, I had an NES. I no longer do. I still have my original Game Boy. I have a Game Boy Advance and a Game Boy Advance SP. I have an N64. I have a GameCube. I have a Wii. I have a Wii U. I have a DS Lite, and I have a 3DS. And if I get the money, I'm picking up a new 3DS. And you can bet your ass I will be getting the Switch.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, there's just some franchises. Metroid definitely.
Yeah, and I hope for dear life that Nintendo called up the guy that made AM2R and was like, "Hey, you want a job?"
While that is a thing, a lot of developers do. Nintendo is less known for it. Nintendo, I mean, I don't even know if Nintendo hires new programmers, or if they've just had the same people working there for 30 years.
Which makes me question what happens when, they start losing staff because, well, hey, they're like...
Well, yeah, what happens when Shigeru Miyamoto retires has been a big question in a lot of people's minds for years now. Because Miyamoto's getting older. I mean, he joined Nintendo somewhere shortly after, I want to say, college, back in the late 70s.
Holy.
The first game that he developed, to the best of my knowledge, was Donkey Kong, the arcade game.
Wow.
He may or may not have had a hand in some of the Game & Watch titles that came out in the early 80s there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Miyamoto has been largely the creative driving force at Nintendo for getting pretty close to 40 years now.
And he's... yeah.
Yeah, to say that he's going to keep doing it forever is ridiculous. He's clearly not. He's got to be in his 60s now. And yeah, the question is, how much longer is he willing to do this? Is he going to keep developing games when he's, 70, 80? I mean, to be fair, Yamauchi ran the company until he was, I want to say, 70-something or 80-something.
Yeah.
But before Satoru Iwata took over. And then Satoru Iwata probably would have done the exact same thing. Unfortunately, he was taken from us far too soon.
I'm reminded of that Satoru Iwata Did You Know Gaming video now. God, I want to cry.
Did You Know Gaming did an excellent, excellent video on Satoru Iwata. I highly recommend that video to anybody listening to this. But yeah, so I don't know what Nintendo's thinking with the Switch. I mean, they dropped a 3-minute YouTube trailer with the promise of more information to come. But when is that going to come? Are they going to wait for January? Are we going to hear nothing about it until January? I mean, that's a thing. We might not.
Yeah. Although...
And to be fair, if they dropped any information before January, is it going to get lost in the crowd with everything else happening?
Yeah.
We got a bunch of games coming out this fall for a bunch of different systems. 2 new consoles from, well, a console revision from Microsoft and a console half step from from Sony coming out. You know, so I don't know. I don't know when we're gonna hear more. I don't know. I have no idea what Nintendo's doing.
Yeah,
it's one of the things I will tell you right now. They at least appear to be doing right. Their console is still a console.
Yeah.
When you look at Microsoft and you look at Sony, their consoles seem to be trying to become PCs. The problem is they're consoles, so they're not PCs. Which means they are actually adopting way more of the bad things about PCs than they are the good things about PCs. And the fact is, about the only reason to have a console, especially in modern times, over a PC is ease of use. I mean, the big selling point of consoles from the day they launched over PCs was they are cheaper, and you can buy a game, stick it in, and play it. No freaking questions. You know, if this says NES on the game box, you can plug it into your freaking NES and it plays.
Yeah.
Outside of region locking, which is a whole other can of worms.
Hey, the Nintendo Switch might not be region locked.
It might not be. It will be the last console to ditch region locking. Because region locking ceased being a thing on Sony and Microsoft's consoles. I want to say back in the Xbox 360, PS3 days. Could be wrong about that, but definitely buy the new ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, just such a mess there.
Yeah.
I've seen articles about Mafia 3's a big game that just recently came out. They are that's a game where it downloads and then it will tell you that it's ready to play. And then you go to play it and you go to an installation menu.
Oh, that's mean. That's evil.
Well, you know what's even more evil? The rumors are that the reason you go to the installation menu is that when the Sony PlayStation and Microsoft Xbox One were announced, the fact that you would be able to start playing the game while it's downloading was a big feature that was touted, right? This is technically playing the game while it's downloading. Because you don't have to wait to launch it. The game launched. It launched to an installation screen, or it launched to the main menu that has no options because they have not been downloaded and installed yet. One report I heard said that from the time they booted up Mafia 3 to the time Mafia 3 was playable was 20 hours.
Was that just due to the internet connection, or was that the actual, like...
No, the theory is that due to the way that the internet signals for downloading and installing things on consoles work, because once again, they are not as robust as PCs. So the way it works, it was actually only processing at about half the speed it was capable of downloading, or less. So basically, the download could go a whole lot faster, but the console couldn't process the information faster and put it on the internal memory faster. So it was a console limitation. Once again, this is not something you have on a PC. Why these consoles are trying to act like PCs, I don't know. The Switch does not seem to be doing that. I have no idea what the Switch is looking to do as far as games, but if you look at that video, it's only a little thicker than a friggin' tablet, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. And
I don't know what kind of storage they're going to put in that, but I imagine it can't be a lot.
Just be bigger than the Wii U's 32 gigs.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if Nintendo's looking to do a lot of digital sales on the Switch. But if they are, I mean... modern console games can take 20 gigs on their own. And Nintendo did announce that even though the Switch is a thing you can take with you, the home console experience is what they're aiming for. The types of games they are putting on it are not your DS, 3DS style games. They're talking traditional Nintendo home console games is their target. So those are going to be big games. So yeah, I don't know what kind of freaking storage space is going to be on that. They did have that little card reader thing in the back, similar to 3DS and DS game cards. I don't know how large those are, or whether or not you could fit an entire console game on them. But once again, because Nintendo hasn't given us any information.
Here's the thing. From one of my classes, it was my PC hardware maintenance and troubleshooting class. I heard from one of the guys that there's SD cards out there that can hold up to like 600 gigs worth of memory.
Okay.
So,
but how much do those cost to manufacture?
Yeah, that's where I'm also thinking, holy shit.
I mean, if it costs $20 to manufacture the game cart, that means, and you still sell the game for $60, that means you're almost not making a profit. Because that only leaves $40 for shipping, retail, the retailer needs to get money, all of that. So that's, and I don't know, Nintendo has not revealed any of this information. And are you going to be able to get those? Is that like removable media, like a regular SD card? Where you put it in, you download the games to it, and you can just swap out when you need to play a different game? Or are they more like your 3DS games, where every game is going to come on one of those, and you have to change it out every time you play a different game?
I'm hoping it's the first.
Yeah, I don't know. Nintendo hasn't said anything.
Yeah.
I'm also not certain. I mean, I like the gimmick. Seems nice to be able to take it anywhere thing. But I don't know if even if I was able to, I don't know if I'd take it and play it elsewhere. And they showed somebody playing it on a plane. Usually when I want to sit down and game, I sit down and game. I mean, I have had every one of Nintendo's handhelds. I played all sorts of Nintendo handheld games, and most of the time I'm playing them, I'm still sitting in my living room. I don't usually go play these games outside of the house. I mean, it might be something great for, like, Japan. A lot of Japanese people take trains and public transportation everywhere. Here in the States, it's less of a thing. Where I live, that's not a thing at all. We don't have public transportation here in this tiny little Minnesota town I live in.
I could see it being a thing I would use simply for, like, if I'm going out to play D&D or something and our group gets into, like, a giant discussion that I'm just kind of sitting there off at the side, like, I'm just like, hey, you know what? I've been stuck on this level. Let's give it a quick run through.
Well, but the thing is, this is supposed to be a console experience. Like, if you play a 3DS game, most of your missions and levels and stuff are shorter.
Yeah, well,
they give it a little more bite-sized thing. Console games usually don't do that.
Yeah, well, I'm speaking specifically if I were, like, playing a Mario game. If I'm playing a game like Metroid or any one of those games that has a... You've played Super Mario Galaxy, you said. Some of those levels could take upwards of 20 minutes to get all the way through. Yeah. That is also a factor.
This is not a short little, quick experience. These are supposed to be console games. And those almost always take a long time. I did like the way they made Splatoon look, where you could get a bunch of people together. That may be a feature that I would use.
When it came to that Splatoon thing, I saw them like go into when I saw them, they were in a stadium. I was practically yelling at my phone, they better have Nintendo better start doing something with esports and Splatoon soon, because I would love to see that as an esports thing.
You ever played Splatoon?
Yeah, I haven't, but I've heard a lot about it. A lot of good things.
It's damn good fun. I prefer it to... I used to be big into Call of Duty and other first-person shooters and what have you, and no, I'd rather play Splatoon. The mechanic is just so much more fun. And and I'm looking forward to playing it on the NX. And yeah, being able to take it and over to a friend's house, and I mean the screen, I don't know how big it is. I mean it's like tablet size. Okay, that's still kind of small, but it's larger than a handheld. Mm-hmm. So being able to like go over to a friend's house and have like 4 other people sitting around the table playing Splatoon together in the same room gives you the like on the couch multiplayer experience that Nintendo is known for, and that I prefer. I much prefer on the couch multiplayer versus online multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
Random strangers on the internet annoy me for the most part in multiplayer games.
Yeah. A couple years back when I was playing Call of Duty more, because I was one of those 12-year-olds that played Call of Duty and screamed at everyone on mic.
Oh, good. So you're one of the people I get to hate.
Yeah, even I, as soon as I turned 14, I'm like, you know, this actually kind of sucks and is really boring. I'm gonna go play like God of War or something, because that'll clearly teach me better lessons than whatever this 12-year-old is screaming online.
Yeah, but you know, most of my online gaming is me and friends I already know agreeing to go play online together. And the reason we do it is not because, I mean, we would almost always rather be in the same freaking room, but you know, that involves hauling consoles everywhere and television sets, and you know, I've been to LAN parties in the past, and hauling all that crap around is such a nuisance.
Yeah.
With the NX, you get that, or the Switch, you get that same on the couch multiplayer experience, but with games that don't work as well in split screen, or because you're technically on 4 separate consoles, you're in the same room playing. All you have to do is take that little, you know, thing with you. That's all the console is.
Yeah.
Sit it on a table or whatever. All your buddies sitting around the table and play the game. And you still get to play online, because there are other games like Call of Duty 4, Gears of War. I mean, these are games you can play split-screen multiplayer, but you can't play split-screen multiplayer online.
Yeah.
You know, so, okay, yeah, it's just the 4 of you sitting around shooting each other. Well, that gets boring after a while. Not in GoldenEye, though. GoldenEye was one of those games. You could just fucking... Don't know why. Game never needed bots. I'd play it for hours. But yeah, the thought of playing against other players, other human players, but still having that on the couch experience with your friends, is probably the only thing that the ability to take the console with you really gets excited for me. Otherwise, I mean, I'm not gonna like take it to the doctor's office and whip it out and play it in the freaking waiting room or something.
Although that would be an interesting thing to get stares from. Why are you playing this while you're waiting for your doctor? Cause I've almost beaten this level, man.
Well, see, once again, I don't go to the doctor an hour beforehand.
Yeah.
You know, I'm there 10 minutes early. I have a 3DS for my little 10-minute games I can play.
Yeah.
I have a phone for even shorter games I can play.
Which reminds me of phones. I got hooked on a Hearthstone clone over this week, and oh my gosh, it's bad.
Wow. But yeah, with Nintendo saying that the plan is to push the Switch as a console experience, I'm not going to get short little games I can play in a doctor's waiting room.
Yeah.
So it's just not likely a thing that I do. I'm still excited for the console. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I am beyond hyped for it.
Yeah.
You know, as a broke college student who's living with his, with people that give me free room and board. Gosh, I sound like I'm in an open relationship or something.
Yeah. Most people refer to them as family.
Yes, family. As I'm looking at this console, it's like, yep, I have to find ways to make money to buy this one console.
Well, there's another thing we don't know. How much money are you going to need to make?
Yeah.
Ideally, if Nintendo wants to position this well, they're going to shoot for $250 to $299. $250 to $300 is in US dollars should, in my estimation, be their target. Because I still don't think it's going to compete against Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah. Even I was looking at it, and I'm like, when they were showing off Skyrim, I took a good look at the graphics, and I'm like, this seems a lot like what we got with the PS3 and Xbox 360, graphically. So, I definitely say shoot for that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not going to compete with those, and those are sitting at $350. I mean, disassemble it and take it with me thing makes up the difference. I'm not certain it will. I am seriously considering that it's, even if it should be worth it in your normal gamer's mind, if they go $350 for Xbox, $350 for Nintendo, I'm going to go with the Xbox. It's got the better graphics. It's got, the best Call of Duty, which you probably won't be able to frickin' even play the same on Nintendo, because Nintendo's network infrastructure is historically terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many questions. Another big one, battery life.
That is what's scaring me too right now, because when you sent me that message, it's like, what's the battery life gonna look like? I'm like, oh shit, that's right. So
yeah. I mean, when the console itself is plugged into its little hub, I'm sure it's getting power from an AC outlet. But you have two controllers instead of one, because the left and right controllers are used separately. So bam, that's extra battery. A question that I don't have an answer to, the best of my knowledge, nobody on the internet has an answer to. When those are attached to the sides of the console, so it's like a tablet with like the Wii U controller, is it still communicating wirelessly? Or does it turn off the wireless when it's attached? Because that could save battery life.
I would definitely expect that, because that just seems like a smarter idea.
Well, it is a smarter idea, but it also might be an idea that is more difficult to pull off technologically.
Yeah.
Or the parts would be more expensive, or it adds an extra thing that can break. But yeah, so we're going to need 5 hours of battery life, I would say. Maybe 6 hours of battery life, but to make it worthwhile. If you can't play that disconnected from power for 5 to 6 hours, it doesn't operate as a mobile device worth a damn.
Yeah.
And let's face it, phones and stuff have trouble playing games for 5 straight hours without dying. My 3DS can do it, but not my tablets, not my phone.
Yeah. That was actually something else I was thinking about. The new what they've proposed for this, or what they're going forward with for the design of the Switch, it reminds me of a laptop made by Razer, I want to say a half year ago or so. I forget the name of it, but basically it's a laptop on its own, but if you pay like an extra $1,000, you can get this box-like thing that ups every one of its specs to like near top performance.
Okay. I have no idea how that and the Switch go together in your brain, but
because I'm wondering if, because clearly because of the fact that the Switch is portable and a home console, they're going to have to have it so that way I have a feeling that the graphical fidelity, I shouldn't say that, the detail or how the graphics look is going to differ between interfaces. So
well, you've got a much smaller screen size, so probably a smaller resolution on it in tablet mode. I suppose it is possible that when it's plugged into the dock may have some sort of hardware, and it's clearly hooked up to an AC adapter, and that sort of stuff. So that may be able to give it a greater boost when it's hooked up to a TV then. And then it somehow seamlessly, downgrades everything when it goes into tablet mode. That seems expensive, but yeah. So you've got the console. It is operating as a tablet. except that video showed no evidence of any touch functionality. So you need the controllers. So the console needs to have a battery that can power some pretty graphically intense games as far as mobile gaming is concerned, without overheating, without killing the battery in 5 minutes. Each of the 2 controller halves needs its own battery. Yeah, even if they all hold a charge long enough, like, God, now I have to remember to charge 3 separate parts of the fucking system.
Which is why I'm hoping that the docking station will be... that it'll... when you put it in, it'll charge everything.
Yeah, I suppose that maybe the way you charge the controllers, you slap on at the side of the console, and away you go. But then what happens if... because they showed, like, some 4-player games and stuff. Do you need a separate console for that? Or can you, as you have been able to with every Nintendo console since the 64, play 4-player multiplayer? Because then, where do you charge the other 2 halves of the controller? Assuming you do the sideways half controller view they showed.
Yeah.
You know. And when you are taking it mobily, what happens if you're going away on a trip for the weekend and you need to charge it? You know.
I would assume for that one they'd have it come with an extra charging accessory or make you buy one or something.
Yeah, I mean, all these questions we don't have answers to.
Yeah.
And then another important question: with everything being so modular, separating, going back together over and over again, what is the quality of these components? I mean, is my controller going to stop snapping onto the side of the tablet in 6 months?
Yeah.
You know, don't get me wrong. Nintendo historically has made impressively built things. I have never had any issues myself, but I have heard stories of people who, like, drop their 3DS outside in the fall, and they don't find it until the spring, which meant it spent all winter outside, covered in snow, and they found it, dried it out, and it played just fine.
Yeah, I remember even hearing that they dropped a GameCube from like one story up or something like that. And
I remember seeing which it was on G4 back in the day. They did a test where they took a Xbox, a PS2, and a GameCube, and they did various tests. Dropping it, hitting it with a hammer, a bunch of shit. The GameCube was the only one to survive all the tests.
That's because it's Tonka tough.
I have seen somebody who managed to recover their Game Boy, their original Game Boy, after a house fire. The housing and everything was melted. It still turned on and played games.
That's awesome.
So I do have sufficient reason to hope Nintendo did this well. But then again, most of their consoles don't have this many moving parts that all need to snap together, hold together. I mean, if you think about it, you snap those 2 controllers onto the side of the tablet. When you're playing a game, I'm sure you've held a regular controller and you give it that little twisty motion with your hands, you know.
Yeah.
You're not even thinking about it. You're just, playing, and you're, like, gripping it and twisting it because your hands are moving independently. Especially in driving games, because, you're trying to move the controller to steer it without having a Wii U or a Wii controller or anything with gyroscopes in it, so it doesn't actually pick up the fact. But you're trying. I mean, I remember playing Mario Kart in the N64, and I'm sitting there jerking the N64 controller everywhere, trying to steer the fucking game, But you need to be able to put that kind of torque on this.
Yeah.
Without snapping the controller off the side, preventing you from being able to clip it back on, I do have faith that Nintendo does this, but what is that going to do to the price?
Yeah.
Is that going to turn, if they use cheaper materials, would it be $250, but they wanted to use the quality materials? Well, they have to use the quality materials if they don't want recognition as a console that breaks all the damn time and don't buy it. Is that going to drive it up to $350, $400? See, I don't know. So many questions about this. And then, the really, really big question on this console is, historically, Nintendo takes bizarre risks.
Very bizarre ones.
The original Game Boy, nobody thought a handheld system would do well. I mean, there were other competitors. The TurboGrafx system was out. That had a color screen and other stuff, and Nintendo didn't do any of that. They went with a less powerful system, and everyone's like, what the fuck? You know, the market is so niche, you know, that you need to have at least this quality of system to appeal to people. And then they launched the Game Boy, and even with its monochrome green screen and low pixel count and everything, that thing sold like gangbusters. Tetris, I'm sure, helped like all crazy. You know, but then the Virtual Boy, that one didn't go well. You know, Nintendo has a history of doing weird. I mean, the Wii itself was a major thing. But in the past, even after the failure of the GameCube, it did not do as bad as the Wii U. The GameCube did not sell as poorly as the Wii U has. But at the time, Nintendo's console market was so absurdly profitable. I read an article at some point in time that they could have taken every GameCube manufactured, threw it into a landfill as soon as it was finished, and Nintendo still would have turned a profit because of how much money they were making on the Game Boy Advance at the time.
Yeah.
And the DS after it was still doing gangbusters during the end of the GameCube's console cycle, and then when the Wii U came out. Of course, then the Wii U was major off the charts. Unfortunately, as much as I love the 3DS, it has not done as well. It's done well, don't get me wrong, but it has not done as well, partially due to the rise of tablets and smartphones and stuff like that. There's a lot of mobile gaming options out there other than a dedicated handheld console.
Yeah.
So Nintendo's just not making as much money. And then the Wii U, due to so many bad decisions, has failed miserably.
Yeah, which breaks my heart.
Yeah, reports are that if the Switch fails, Nintendo may not be able to continue as a console manufacturer, as a hardware manufacturer. They may have to go the route of Sega, give up on their own consoles, and start putting their games on other people's systems. And there's a whole segment of the population out there who would be like, yes, I want to play Mario on freaking Xbox. You know, I hate this console exclusivity crap. And there is a strong argument for that. But let's face it, if consoles are going to continue being a thing, I think Nintendo is the company who is going to keep them being a thing. Because as the Xbox and PlayStation are going, it's not going to be very much longer that everybody's going to be like, why am I bothering on console? I'm going to get a PC.
Yeah.
The price difference is nowhere near as bad as it used to be. I mean, ATI just released a new, pretty damned high-end graphics card for $200.
Only
high-end graphics cards generally sell for like $500, $600 a piece when they're the new top-of-the-line model. This one is not quite top of the line, but it's pretty up there, and it's $200. I mean, putting together a gaming rig is becoming cheaper every year. And consoles are becoming more expensive every freaking year. And the number of things that you can... that make consoles better than PCs dwindle every year.
Yeah.
And here pretty quick, if Nintendo goes, I think console gaming's dead in 10 years. Because Microsoft and Sony are doing everything they can to turn their consoles into less good PCs. And eventually people are going to start realizing that that's all it is, a PC that isn't as good. So fuck it, I'm going to go buy a PC.
Yeah. And I don't want to see that happen because I love consoles to death. They're
So I do too. I've been I play PC games. Don't get me wrong. I've got a Steam account. I've got 200 plus games in my Steam library. I play PC games, but I love console games too. I especially love Nintendo's console games. And let's face it, a lot of times Nintendo does things in a way that is difficult to emulate on other consoles. I mean, not all their games are, but they do a number of things where, because of the unique nature of their consoles, they are special. And I don't want to see that go away. Nintendo is creative. They are, even in the console market, they're coming up with new things, new ideas, trying new ways of doing things. And I don't want to see them go away. So I really want this to succeed. I want the Switch to succeed. And I have so much fear that it's not, because of Nintendo's bizarre strategy here that we already covered at the beginning of this episode. Just so confused.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think I've run out of good things to say about this topic. So bottom line for me, I'm buying a Switch. I will sell my car and walk to work so I can afford a Switch. And I'm getting Breath of the Wild on Switch. Those are my two things. And I am looking forward to it. To be fair, I bought a Wii U launch day as well. I have not regretted it. Wii U has a lot of great games. Smash Brothers, Splatoon, a lot of great freaking games. I have not played it yet, but I've heard wonderful things about the Zelda Hyrule Warriors. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Heard a lot of great things about that. Want that game. Haven't taken the money for it yet. But yeah, I want this to succeed.
Yeah.
I really hope it does. But I am so confused by Nintendo's marketing here. I don't know. Hopefully it pans out.
Yeah. My final thoughts. I do want this to succeed because I love Nintendo as a company. And while we're on topic of that, please make a Metroid game. Just throw together a 2D one at least, or give us another Prime main series Prime, like Prime 1, 2, and 3. Like, give us Prime 4. I'll go with that. Just give us another Metroid game, man. And another F-Zero game, because I know the F-Zero fans have it harder than Metroid fans.
All right, this has been the Esoteric Podcast. As always, you can check us out over on Twitch. We live stream on Sundays. You can check us out here on YouTube. We are the Esoteric Podcast on both platforms.